Hey, good morning. Welcome to Life Online. I'm here at home, and it is another oppressive heat day here in the Philadelphia area. Crazy high humidity. It is a great day for us to continue to deal with attitude issues. So I want to take you again, Philippians chapter 4. These are verses 4, 5, 6. We're going to talk about three choices that you have to make today. So Paul writes, remember from yesterday, he's just finished addressing two ladies who are strong leaders, and yet they've had a disagreement, and so they're at odds with one another. And Paul has addressed that to remember what you've been called to do, the cause of the gospel. And he challenges them, you're in partnership together, and he calls actually into a wise spiritual leader, help them. And also reminds them of a certain future that they have, that truly the Lord will return. So we're going to win in this thing. So drop some of the odds at one another. And then he heads into these three powerful things. Okay, let's head into them. Verse 4, rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. That's the first choice. You have a choice today. Doesn't matter how oppressive things are around you or what circumstances mark your life at this moment, but you have a choice and a decision to make whether you will rejoice in the Lord or not. I remember an old song when I was a kid that said, you can have a song in your heart in the night, after every mile, after every trial. Anyone can sing when the sun's shining bright, but you can have a song in your heart at night. And by the way, as Paul addresses this, it really is, he is saying this is not optional for us, but instead this is an absolute necessity for us in this Christian walk. And he's especially addressing individuals that are being oppressed by the culture around them that is saying, there is one Lord, yes, but it's not Jesus. The Lord is Caesar. And so as they're experiencing persecution, Paul says, in the middle of all of this, rejoice, and he repeats it a second time. In fact, the adverbs that are used brings extra strength to this, how vital and crucial it is for us. And by the way, you do remember, I hope, in the book of Acts, where Paul, Silas, they have suffered for what they have done in preaching the gospel within this community. And as they suffered, they're in prison and they're in stocks. They're rejoicing in the middle of the night and about midnight, in the middle of all the pain and that they are experiencing for the cause of Christ. God sends a great earthquake. The prison walls come down. The Philippian jailer, he and his household end up being spared and saved, and all of those prisoners anyway, none of them was lost in the middle of that earthquake. Anyway, God has a way of doing some really powerful things when we go ahead and learn to rejoice. So that's the first choice you need to make for your attitude's sake. Rejoice in the Lord always. I will say it again, rejoice. And then there's the second choice that we have to make, and it's in verse 5. Let your gentleness be evident to all. The Lord is near. The gentleness that it speaks of here has to do really with this gentle forbearance. The idea is I can persevere through whatever I'm going through, whether it's Euodia, Syntyche, in the conflict that they have. Hey, you're going to make it through this thing. Just a gentleness, and let it be evident to all. By the way, when it speaks of this, it especially foreshadows this attitude of what Jesus had. And normally, this idea of gentleness has to do with an attribute that is attributed to God. So we clearly know that being gentle, when it would be easy for us to be angry, to be vengeful, to demand our way, but instead of this gentle submission, it is to the leadership and the resolve of God, who knows all things and is working all things for our good and also for his glory. And Jesus was like that. In fact, it's in 1 Peter chapter 2, verse 23. It is spoken of Jesus that when they hurled insults at him, he did not retaliate. When he suffered, he made no threats. Instead, he entrusted himself to him who judges justly. And as Peter mentions that, he's actually addressing the issue of those that are during that time would be slaves, household slaves, And so he challenges them, listen, in the middle of all of this, keep a good attitude, keep your wits about yourself. Jesus did that when they arrested him, falsely accused him, when they beat him. So gentleness, let it be evident to all. And then it says this, the Lord is near. We're not exactly for sure what this is specifically referring to. Is this talking about the issue of rejoicing and being gentle? We are going to move into the third command, and it's prayer. But I think the idea is that Paul continues to insert these kinds of things because he's reminding us that life is tough. And while you go through persecution, never forget that God is right there with you. In fact, many times when we suffer, he is with us in an absolute amazing way, closer than any other challenges in life. Okay, let me just hit the third one real quick. You need to rejoice, it's imperative. And you need to let your gentleness be evident to all. Don't be in constant conflict, and don't be chafing and frustrated with this yoke, whatever God has you in, but instead just forbear and do it with gentleness, not lashing out at others. And then thirdly, you need to pray. So here it is. Do not be anxious about anything, but in every situation, by prayer and petition, with thanksgiving, let your requests be made known to God. There's 3 different words there that talks about for prayer. We're not necessarily going to get into that, but you understand what you need to do. The words here really has to do with the life that was exhibited in the Psalms, like David and other psalmists that would say, this is the way that we live. We refuse to live in angst. We refuse to live with all kinds of worry and fears. But instead what we do, we take all of that and we roll it over onto God. And so we pray. We are people of prayer. So when you have a tendency to hit the challenging times and your attitude is challenged, in the middle of the challenge, as quickly as you recognize it, you run to God and start talking to him about it. And you lay it all at his feet and just say, God, I refuse to pick this up and let it impact my mindset and my attitude in the rest of life. You see, as Christians, we are called to a life that is very, very different. It's not reactionary toward the circumstances that are around us like other individuals are, but instead there is an anchor of the Spirit inside of our souls. It gets into our minds. It's all down into everything that we are. We know that there's a God who loves us, cares about us. He is near in all these situations. And so as a result, 3 choices we make. We rejoice, and we do it always. It's imperative for us. In addition to that, we respond to the challenges of life, and we do it with gentle forbearance. And the third thing that we do is we remember to always pray. Don't quit. Don't give up. God's got a great plan for your life, and he's got a great day ahead of you if you'll go ahead and live out these 3 choices. So, hey, God bless. Love you much. Have an awesome day.